If you followed our channel for a while, you may have actually noticed that Rudnick has recently gotten a very nice tack upgrade. Now, unfortunately, while I may not be able to afford to go out and buy a brand new saddle for exactly what I want, this one has actually really proven itself to be a perfect fit for both him and I, despite being an older, used, broken-in saddle. I'm not going to lie, I do miss my jumping saddle, but I think Rudnick pulls off a dressage saddle very well, and honestly, I've seen a whole new side of him come out since switching to this saddle. And I'm going to give you a bit of a backstory as to why exactly we had to switch saddles. Over the last year, probably literally since January, Rudnick has started developing a few new behaviors when we've been out riding. And seeing as he just turned 6 years old this past spring, I kind of just assumingly associated it with he's of that age now, he's going to be testing me, he's going to be kind of seeing what he can get away with while we're out on the trail. But on that same note, I also knew this was not something that was normal for him. He doesn't have these kind of behaviors. He's not the kind of horse to test you. And so there obviously had to be more of a reason behind these behaviors than just him being a bit of a little a-hole. I've always felt very confident when riding Rudnick, mainly because ever since the first day I got on him, he's never had any sort of issues. He's never had behaviors where he's tried to throw me, never anything like that. But he started doing things that were very unusual for him. Anytime we went faster than a trot, he would start throwing his head down and throwing little kicks. And again, I just associated this with he's 6 years old now, he's going to start having a little bit more of an attitude. But then he started doing these behaviors going down hills, and I noticed at first that it was mainly and only just down hills. He would actually start to buck and tuck his head as we were going down the hill, which very quickly became very dangerous. He was fine on flat surfaces. We could walk, trot, sometimes even canter straight, and no issues whatsoever. So that's the main reason behind why I didn't automatically assume it was a fitting issue with his saddle. But as he started filling out more into the summer, I started noticing that he had these behaviors a little bit more anytime we would go faster than a walk or a slow trot. He'd start tucking his head, kind of kicking his butt up into the air, and it didn't seem like he was trying to throw me, but I very quickly realized he was showing signs of discomfort and pain. Now, he'd never had any saddle sores or any issues that would have shown it was a pain thing or that it was the saddle not fitting properly. And from everything I could see, the saddle did still fit him just fine. But after one of our most recent rides, a very good horse friend of mine offered to let me try one of her saddles on him to see if it was possibly a fitting issue, because when we looked at the two saddles side by side, we did see that mine was quite a bit narrower than hers, so maybe having the wider tree would help him to kind of just relax a bit more. And when I tell you, the second we put that saddle on that horse, he was a completely new horse altogether. He has never ridden so smoothly, so confidently. He's moving much more open now in his shoulders, and I'm honestly, my jaw was on the floor because I could not believe the difference that it made putting him into this saddle. And it makes me feel horrible as a horse mom, horse owner, because I feel like this is something I should have seen coming a lot sooner. And the fact that it took us 6 months to get this figured out, that it was a fitting issue, not a behavioral issue, I honestly feel so bad about it because this poor boy was going through so much and putting up with so much and trying in his best ways to tell me that he was uncomfortable, and it took me far too long to be able to realize what he was saying. Now, I really didn't pay that much for my last saddle because it was used, but it was still in perfect condition. I was able to resell it. It just wasn't working for him anymore. He has filled out into his full-grown quarter horse body now, and he needs something that's going to give him that freedom of movement, which unfortunately that saddle was just not doing anymore. Since getting him into a better saddle, we've also had the chiropractor out who was able to make some adjustments. She didn't find anything concerning. Like I said, he'd never had any saddle sores or anything after our rides, and I think I did still catch it soon enough that it didn't really develop into a full issue. But I should have known from the start that the behaviors he was displaying were completely unusual and abnormal for him. He doesn't have behaviors. He doesn't throw fits. He is a very willing, cooperative horse, and if he's suddenly starting to throw his head and give bucks, immediately I should have had red flags going off. But like I said, because at first it only happened when we were going down hills or at faster speeds, and most of our riding is done inside of the arena, so it really wasn't an issue for just walking or trotting in circles. But since upgrading to our new to us used dressage saddle, he has been a whole new horse, and I am just absolutely blown away with how amazing this boy is under saddle, which just makes me feel so bad for having him go through those 6 to 8 months of discomfort when we were doing downhill ridings or going for little canters or anything like that. But I had also been getting to the point where my confidence was starting to dwindle a little bit because I am pregnant. Having these behaviors happen while we were riding was becoming a little bit nerve-wracking for me. I didn't want something like this to end up throwing me off while I was pregnant and having an accident happen. But now that we've upgraded our saddle, he's so much more comfortable. He's moving without any pain. He is so much more willing and relaxed now. It's eliminated any sort of caution or lack of confidence that I had had previously. And even though I may not love the dressage saddle, I think he looks amazing in it. And for the time being, I was not going to continue riding him in a saddle that was too small for him and clearly causing him discomfort. So for now, it's what I could afford, and this is just going to be our new saddle for now. Hopefully someday we'll be able to afford something that's a little bit more custom fit to both him and I, but in the meantime, since I don't see myself riding a whole lot more into the pregnancy once winter comes, this is going to work just fine for us.